The Galactic Military Academy's combat training hall buzzed with nervous energy as Instructor Vraktesh surveyed his mixed-species class. The towering Gorvanian stood nearly 3 meters tall, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the training bay's harsh lights. His reputation for breaking recruits was legendary throughout the academy, and his disdain for soft-world species was well known. Among the 43 cadets stood Sarah Martinez, barely reaching Vraktesh's shoulder, her regulation uniform marking her as one of the new human exchange students from the recently contacted Sol system. At 18 standard years, she was younger than most recruits, and her slender frame drew dismissive glances from the more physically imposing species present. "Today we practice unarmed combat scenarios," Vraktesh announced, his mandibles clicking with anticipation. "Survival situations where weapons are unavailable or compromised. We'll start with basic defensive postures." The class paired off according to size and species compatibility, a standard safety protocol to prevent accidental injuries between vastly different physiologies. Sarah found herself standing alone as the other cadets formed their groups. Instructor called Zethkai, a reptilian saurian whose scales rippled with barely concealed amusement. The human appears to lack a suitable partner. Vraktesh's 4 eyes fixed on Sarah with predatory interest. Indeed, perhaps this presents an excellent teaching opportunity. His voice carried across the training hall as he approached her position. "Class, observe carefully. Soft-world species require special consideration in combat scenarios." Sarah shifted into a relaxed stance, her feet automatically spacing to shoulder width. A movement so subtle, most aliens missed it entirely. "With respect, sir, I'm ready for standard training protocols." "Standard?" Vraktesh's laughter was like grinding stone. "Child, you mass perhaps 50 kilograms. I mass over 300. Standard protocols would result in your immediate medical evacuation." He gestured dismissively. "We'll use modified contact rules. Light touch only." The other cadets formed a circle around the designated sparring area. Several activated their personal recording devices. Training accidents involving interspecies combat often made for popular viewing in the dormitories. "Instructor Vraktesh," Sarah said quietly, "I should mention that Earth is classified as a Class XI Deathworld." "Yes, yes," he waved a massive claw dismissively. "Slightly elevated gravity, some toxic atmospheric components. Hardly relevant to combat training." He settled into what passed for a fighting stance among his species, essentially a controlled forward lean that relied on mass and momentum. "Begin defensive sequence," he commanded, then immediately launched what he considered a gentle swipe towards Sarah's midsection, enough force to knock her down and demonstrate human fragility without causing serious injury. Sarah wasn't there. The movement was so fast that half the class missed it entirely. One moment she stood directly in front of the massive instructor, the next she had somehow flowed around his attack and positioned herself at his flank. Her counter-strike, a precise palm strike to what appeared to be empty air, seemed almost casual. Vraktesh's forward momentum suddenly became uncontrolled as his left leg buckled. The nerve cluster Sarah had targeted, invisible to most species but clearly mapped in human combat manuals, sent cascading paralysis through his lower extremity. 300 kilograms of chitinous alien crashed to the training mat with a sound like breaking ceramics. But gravity on Earth is 9.8 meters per second squared. Sarah's follow-up strike came before Vraktesh finished falling. Her elbow, moving with the kind of devastating efficiency that only develops on worlds where everything is actively trying to kill you, connected with his mandible joint at precisely the angle necessary to dislocate it without causing permanent damage. The crack echoed through the suddenly silent training hall. "Medical to Training Bay 7, Sarah called out calmly, stepping back and assuming a neutral position. "Instructor down with non-critical injuries." Vraktesh lay motionless except for his eyes, which tracked her movement with something approaching awe. The nerve strike had left him temporarily paralyzed but fully conscious, a common self-defense technique taught to human children in case of large predator encounters. Cadet Zethkai's scales had gone completely pale. How did she move that fast? Earth gravity is 2.3 times standard, Sarah explained matter-of-factly. We train in what you'd consider a high-resistance environment from birth. Plus, when your homeworld has drop bears, box jellyfish, funnel web spiders, and saltwater crocodiles, you develop pretty good reflexes. The medical team arrived and began assessing Vraktesh's condition. The mandible dislocation was clean. It would heal completely within a few days. The nerve strike effects were already beginning to fade. As they loaded him onto the medical transport, Vraktesh managed to croak out a single word. How? Sarah knelt beside the stretcher, her expression genuinely apologetic. Sir, you telegraphed your attack for nearly 2 full seconds. On Earth, that's enough time for a funnel web spider to bite you 17 times. She paused thoughtfully. Also, you left your entire left flank exposed. Your weight distribution was forward committed, and your species anatomy put a major nerve cluster right where most humans would instinctively counterstrike. As the medical team carried Vraktesh away, the remaining cadets stared at Sarah with newfound respect and a healthy dose of terror. So, she said brightly, who wants to be my training partner? The silence stretched until finally, a brave crystalline Zephyrian raised one rocky appendage. I volunteer, Korek announced. But perhaps we could start with meditation techniques instead? Sarah grinned. Works for me. On Earth, we call that survival training.